All right, everybody, we're going to give it maybe one more minute. I'm Jimmy and Vlad, and we're going to go ahead here in about a minute and get started with today's webinar. And Vlad, you can see all that? You can see this?
Yep, I see the screen. All good.
Cool. Great. We'll give it maybe another minute and get started. So as we're waiting for folks to join, you can ask questions as we go. You can put them in chat and we will take a look at those. And we got some stopping points as we roll through with that. So we'll give it 30 more seconds and then we'll get started. Okay, we're going to kick off the webinar. I am Jimmy King and I'm with Banking Bridge, and we are happy to have Vlad Nedelku with Webcherry joining us on this month's webinar, and thought it would be a great conversation as we start to work with lenders that are graduating from more of a templated website, and they're now looking to invest into more of a custom website. So talking about what does it take to build a custom website, what are the advantages of that, when does it sound like you're ready to make the move into a much more customized website experience. And had the pleasure to meet Vlad maybe 2 years ago. He actually chatted us on our website and told us there was something broken with one of our embeds. So I got to know him ever since then. I think we have maybe 8 or 10 mutual customers that we have great success with, and wanted to share some of those successes with you today. Webcherry, Vlad and his team they founded in 2012, done a bunch of custom website projects. They focus a lot on the mortgage space. They do other stuff, but mostly on the mortgage space as well. And Vlad, tell me about your team. A little bit of background on you and the team.
Yeah, so we've been in the business for quite some time, but only in the last 4 years, we focused on mortgage websites. It was all of a sudden, we didn't plan to do this, but we saw a big opportunity to help our clients in this niche because, as you probably know, a lot of these websites, these lender websites and brokers are outdated. So they're not on par with what consumers expect from their websites. So we're a team of 8 people here. It's not just me. We're all very passionate about what we do. And one thing that I think sets us apart is that we are all seniors. So everybody has 5+ years of experience. We do websites mostly, but we also focus on branding, SEO, and other relevant services to the websites.
Well, good. Thanks for that. And we're going to kind of work through the outline of today's call. So we are going to talk about why do you need a custom website? I think that's important. Vlad's going to talk about that, the anatomy of a custom website and those tips that go along with that. And then if you're going to make the investment in a custom website, then there needs to be more conversion, more leads, more interactions, more time on page. So we're going to show some statistics on that. And then we're going to look at some live, some examples of custom websites out there in the wild that when we demo our product at Banking Bridge, we show those Vlad's work all the time because they do a great job of integrating Banking Bridge into those custom websites, and the conversion is just much better. So Vlad, I'm going to hand it off to you, and you can take it away and talk about the custom website experience.
Yeah. So back in 2012 when I started, If you had a website, you were miles away ahead of your competition. And that was the edge you needed to stand out. Today, that's no longer the case because every business has a website. So everyone is playing an equal field. Now you gain an advantage simply by having a modern custom website. In today's environment, your website is your biggest marketing asset. So that's because the website is the only touch point all your clients will interact with. No matter what other marketing strategies you have, either offline or online, your clients will all end up on your website sooner or later. Think about it. Your social media profile, your ad campaign, or printed flyer will eventually lead people to your digital business card, which is your website. And you can easily stand out. Maybe you're asking, why do I say easily? Because the mortgage industry has a lot of catching up to do to meet the modern customer's needs. And the majority of your competition has terrible, terrible websites. So with just a little effort and a decent investment, you have the power to boost your credibility in your customers' eyes and become the go-to lender. First impressions matter. This is an undeniable fact. Just think about meeting a person in real life. What do you notice first? It's usually a couple of things like how that person looks, their outfit, their demeanor, and how that person talks, their tone of voice, and the words they choose. These appearances form your first impression in a matter of seconds. And the same applies to websites. In fact, there is a study that shows it takes a person only 50 milliseconds to form an opinion about a website. That is a very short time to make a good first impression. There is also another study that found out that 90% of users leave a website because of bad design. So you might have the best rates and services out there, but due to poor web design, people won't get to experience any of it. And while website templates may be a viable solution for startups with limited budgets and resources, a custom website is a wise and long-term investment for businesses looking to grow and establish themselves as market leaders. A custom website gives consumers the experience, information, and tools they need to trust you and your brand. On the other hand, a template doesn't account for your brand or personality. It doesn't adapt to modern times. It isn't optimized for lead conversion. It's simply a canned solution.
If and I do like business, that phrase. I do like the phrase "templates are for startups." That's a great way to look at it from a cost perspective and just kind of where you are from a business perspective as a mortgage company.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not the wrong thing to do. As I said, if you're just starting out, you don't have all the time to put together a custom website. So a template is probably the best choice in that scenario. But if you've been in business for more than a year, then a custom website is the next practical and, in my opinion, logical step to do in upgrading your marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. And then the ROI there is just, we see it all the time. You make the initial investment, you can watch when the new website launches, you have the immediate increase in leads. Traffic hasn't increased, just conversion of the existing traffic has. So those are good. Those are great points to outline there.
Yeah. The average conversion rate for the finance industry, including mortgages, is 3% or lower. And with a custom website, you could go 5% or even mm-hmm. more. So, that makes a valid point, and the return on investment within the first couple of months.
Yep.
So next, I want to talk about the vital elements of a custom profitable website and what the consumers expect from you. See, people spend most of their time on big social media platforms or publication websites. Those big companies who, by the way, put millions into their websites, set the bar for what a good website experience is. So let's see how we can mimic that, starting with brand identity. Brand identity, Jimmy, if you could go to the next slide.
Sure.
So the brand identity refers to the unique design features that customers easily recognize. This includes your brand name, your logo design, color palette, illustrations, and so on. But let's just focus on the logo today. Even if it seems like a small part of the website, it's one important element because people are going to judge it. And here's the weird part. Most of the time, they're not going to say something like, wow, that's the best logo I've seen. Instead, they're just going to say, man, that's a cheap logo. It looks outdated or like an amateur did it. That's because people can tell when a brand doesn't invest in their brand identity. And with that in mind, I want you to look at two logo examples on screen. Which one of these two lenders would you trust more just by looking at their logo? I'm curious to know what you think. So if you could type here in chat A or B, just to let me know what you think.
Well, my answer is definitely B.
Okay, we got a couple of Bs, only one A. So I guess we can assume B is the winner. But here's the fun fact. They are both the same company, but they just went through a rebrand because they know that updating their brand identity is something that customers care about. And this is a huge opportunity for you to stand out because only a few lenders really invest in professional modern logos. I would say 2 out of 10 maybe, just by the experience I have in the industry.
Yeah, and it seems like their logos are they're very sensitive to that. It's like their firstborn child, and they really don't want to change the logo, or they don't understand why they need to. But this is a great example of just what a complete change to a logo can do to the brand with Mortgage Expert.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal change. And it's not just about the logo. Their branding expands to the whole website, to even their flyers, their ads, and so on. The navigation menu is another important element. It's one of the easiest things to change, but very few people get it right. One thing you want to avoid is having more than 5-6 pages in the menu, because having more than that will overwhelm people. This is a psychological bias called choice overload. The more options you're presented with, the harder it is to make a decision. So try to keep it as simple as possible. Stick to the most important pages. In this case, less is more.
And then you're adding in the additional pages underneath the drop down. So you have the main header,
Yes.
and then is that right? Okay, I like that. That looks great.
If you have other pages or more pages, put them in a drop down, or have a more item in the navigation menu where you would list all these other pages.
Mm-hmm. Great.
The hero section is the first section you see on the homepage, and without a doubt, the most important section on the whole website. is vital to making that good first impression we talked about earlier. This is where people first notice how good your design is and if your messaging is relevant to them. Use the headline and the subtext to include your value proposition or benefit-oriented copy. Answering the two customer questions: what's in it for me and why should I care? Just look at these two examples and see the striking difference.
Right. One is all about me, and that's it. And the other one is all about the customer and what we're going to do to the customer. Yeah.
The very cliche, welcome to my site.
Right. Right. And I look at websites. Our team works at websites, mortgage websites all day long. And unfortunately, I think 70% of the ones that we look like or that we take a look at are more on the left. So it goes back to your original point of, gosh, if you make that investment into a custom site, you are so far ahead of the competition with a small investment that it takes. So this is a really good example to show on the hero.
Yeah, and the other important thing here is also the call to action. We should mention that too, because so many lenders don't use a specific call to action on their hero section, leaving people clueless as to what they're supposed to do next. And call to actions need to be short and specific, and ideally they need to be low commitment. So a tip here is, instead of apply now, maybe go for schedule a consultation, or better yet, get a quote. This is also one of the areas where Banking Bridge can help you create a friendly, no commitment CTA that people will actually want to interact with.
Yeah, the issue that we see with apply now or get started that links to an apply now button is 95, 98% of your website traffic is top of the funnel, which means they're just checking you out. They're going to look under the hood, they're going to kick the tires. So when you send them to an application link that says, hey, go ahead and create your username and password, that they're just never going to do that. So it's important to have a call to action that's a little bit further up the funnel with the get a quote or, check today's rates. Those are all great top of the funnel conversion CTAs.
Yeah. Low commitment, I think that is the best word I could find. With the application, you have to be ready to apply, first of all. So you have to be in that phase of the process. Plus, it takes a lot of time to fill in that application. We both know how long it is.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Any questions so far in chat, Vlad? If you have questions, you feel free to add them in there.
Yeah, there are no questions
okay.
so far. Okay, I think we can move on.
Great.
So relevant testimonials and video. I don't want to say a lot here, but if you don't have testimonials on your website, you're pushing people to go on Google to read about you. That means they're leaving your website to see if you're trustworthy. This is a problem, and even worse, because Google will show people similar businesses as they search for yours, making them easily distracted by your competitors.
Do you have a link? Like, what do you think? What is a good link that you see for a lot of your the videos that you guys use on the sites?
A good link? What do you mean?
Like length, time, how long? 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes? What do you feel like works best?
Yeah, as short as possible. It also depends on the video, but ideally you would want to get it as close to 1 minute. For your homepage, 1 minute, I would say, is the maximum. Maybe if you have a video on the about page, you can make it a little bit more lengthy because you can talk about you can show basically the customers the human side of your business. And you can also make shorter videos, sorry for interrupting you, to answer some frequently asked questions. That's also a good way to integrate video on your website.
And you look at your example here where you have, getting someone to writing a written testimonial is okay, but as we know, I mean, you don't know where those come from, and people are very suspect of non-verified self-written testimonials. For us, the most powerful thing that we can do, because we just added video testimonials into we're redoing our Banking Bridge site, and it's very powerful to have a customer or a person talking about their brand or their experience is huge for conversion, whether it's on selling selling software or if it's you selling mortgages to customers. So video testimony is a powerful tool to include in your site.
Yeah. If you don't have video testimonials, then I would suggest go back to your database, ask a few clients for video testimonials. This is the ultimate credibility enhancement you can do to your website. And if not,
it seems like now, go ahead, Sarvan.
Yeah, if you don't have video testimonials or it's very hard to get them, just maybe you can add some photos next to the static testimonials. That also increases credibility.
The piece nowadays that's so great about video testimonials is the more authentic it is. So if it's the customer just self-recording on their phone, 30 seconds, that is more convincing than if it's well staged and you bring them in and you have the green screen. Just get them to say a 30-second commercial about your business, and that's what visitors are looking for.
Yeah, actually video testimonials shot with a selfie camera are way better than something professional. Yeah, so another good another point for custom websites is the benefit-oriented copy and premium design. There is a common anything will do mentality when it comes to the copy lenders use on their websites. But in reality, the first impression we talked about earlier depends heavily on the message you decide to communicate. People spend on average 5 to 6 seconds reading through a website's written content. This shows us that users scan the text, they don't really read it. So we need to provide them with short, easy to digest bits of copy and not big chunks of text. Nobody would like to read that. If the copy doesn't speak to the user's pain points, then it's basically useless. And I want to emphasize this. Think about it. It's not about us as lenders or brokers. It's all about our customers. So instead of saying we are the best or we do things differently, basically starting every sentence with we, steer that messaging towards the problem you solve for your customers and the benefits they'll have by working with you. Benefit-oriented copy stands out in catchy headlines that preferably use a big, bold typography. And you can leverage design to make your copy stand out even more by using animations, illustrations, or lifestyle photography that support the copy. This is a killer combo, and it gives that trustworthy look to your website that everybody is trying to achieve. Just look at the example here. see what they say about mortgages and how they reinforce that message by using this illustration with someone casually relaxing while browsing this lender's website. This is great. I really like this example here. Just stay away from yeah.
What do you talk about, like the collaboration when if we think about something like this, the header painless mortgages, if you're working with the lender's marketing team, are you bringing them a couple of different taglines? Like how, just if you give like a 1 minute explanation on how do you kind of come up with different a tagline that fits their brand.
Mm-hmm. So it usually, this is something that they come up with indirectly during the discovery phase. So in the discovery phase, we ask a lot of questions like, what do you think about your services, how people perceive you. We also take a look at the reviews these lenders get on their Google or experience.com, and that's where we find these golden nuggets that we can use. And yeah, to answer your question, we propose different options and see which one could potentially make a bigger impact, but also see we also have to adapt to the current market environment. Like for example, 2 years ago, the messaging was not so focused on the rates because everybody had great rates, so you had to come up with something else. Nowadays, maybe that's a little different.
I like that idea of going into their reviews and just reading with the customers how the customer describes them. That gets you a really good idea of the brand. So that's a good little nugget.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you don't use that in your hero section, there's still some benefits that you discover through these reviews. So everything we talked about up to this point leads to more conversions. If you do all the previous things right, you will get an increase in your conversions, but that's not all. When we talk about the custom website, we aim to bring more value and create new experiences, because conversions go hand in hand with value. As long as you provide something useful, people will give you their contact information. So aim to make the client's life easier. People go in to shop for rates. That's a fact. We can no longer deny that. So simply show them the rates and make it obvious how they can ask for a quote. But there's even more you can do. You can help people feel more secure by offering a second opinion. So for example, give them the option to send you their loan estimate, and you might beat that offer they received from another lender. Another way to help is to keep people up to date with rate swings and subscribe them to a rate drop notification. This creates more touch points for your brand. Even if people are 3 months or 6 months away from a transaction. One other thing
So the nice part about rate subscriptions, the emails, are when you think about the information that you can send out to a customer. You have your monthly newsletter about the market, or the latest spaghetti recipe, or 6 different ways to clean out your gutters this spring. The thing the customer wants is rates, and the rate subscriptions is a great way to get them the information that they find valuable, instead of giving them something that's not really relevant about the mortgage industry.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing we do with our websites is we remind people to complete their quote request. As you can see here in this example, and Banking Bridge has this cool feature where if someone starts the rate workflow but pauses, their progress is automatically saved. So it's easy for them to pick up where they left off. It's something we wouldn't be able to do with other clients who are not using Banking Bridge. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Forrester, which is a well-respected research and advisory firm, found out that a well-designed user interface could raise your website's conversion rate by up to 200%. And a better user experience design could yield conversion rates of up to 400%. So watch out for these KPIs when you want to get more leads. How fast your website is loading. We know that over 50% of users will leave a website if it takes more than 3 seconds to load. How many people are coming back to your website? And here a tip is just to have rates visible because that's a big reason for people to come back. In fact, we've seen new branded search terms showing up in Google. People are starting to search for a lender's name plus mortgage rates, which is something we didn't see 2 years ago. The time they spend on a website, as well as the number of pages they're viewing, have a strong correlation with leads. We actually measured this for a client who went through a redesign, added the Banking Bridge tools, and started creating valuable content for SEO. And in 6 months, he went from 70 seconds, which, by the way, is the average time people spend on a website, to almost 3 minutes. So that's a huge increase, almost over actually 800% increase, which eventually lead up to more than doubling their leads.
Yeah, the lead count. If you think about like when you go shopping online and you're on a Shopify website or something, that you just scroll through the shoes that you're looking for, if it's the jeans or t-shirts, and next thing you know, you've been on that page for 7 minutes. And a mortgage website, that's the most interesting thing about a mortgage website is getting rates in your website, because it's a tool that the user can play with. It keeps them on the page longer. And sometimes in a down market like we're in right now, leads are one thing, but time on page is a very good metric to measure. Is your website educational? Is there a reason for them to come back? And if you have that 2+ minutes on a page, that's awesome. So that's a very good metric to point out there, Vlad.
Yeah, no, you're right, because when you give people the tools they need and create a captivating experience with the design, the copy, the videos we talked about earlier, all these things only encourage people to spend more time on your website. So
talk about
that.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Glenn.
Yeah, no, it's just you increase that engagement, you increase the touch points, you increase trust. So eventually, all these play together into increasing your conversion rate.
So when you're working with your customers, are you helping them with their Google Analytics and coaching them on how, like, what metrics to look at? Are you introducing them to analytics? Because a lot of our customers, they don't use it until they take the next step. How involved are you in that?
Yeah, so we do help with analytics, but as you said, we've also a big part of our clients, before they met us, they didn't track anything. So that's why sometimes for us it's also hard to accurately measure the performance of a new website, because we know how many new leads they get, but we don't know what happened previous to that.
Yep. Well, let's hit the next slide here. So talking about your website, your custom website in Banking Bridge, and we've hit on all this, so I'll keep it short. But rate comparison table. So this tool, what you see here, is a great embed that you can install into your custom website, and it allows people to change up their parameters. They can run pricing. So that is an awesome tool that you can include into your website to make it much more sticky and convert. And also, we talked about the rate subscription pop-ups, which is allowing those website visitors to keep up to date with rates there as well. So from a customer stat, so a few of our mutual customers, Webcherry, Banking Bridge mutual customers, this is the first quarter of this year. So District Lending as a group had awesome success, had an old website design, went to a new one, and he saw a 5x increase. He was doing about 30 leads a month prior to Webcherry and Banking Bridge, and now I think he's doing 150, 160 a month quality leads for him. And then the 56% of on today's rates, what that means is people are going to his website, they're going to today's rates, and they're running at least one rate scenario. So that is if you didn't have that in your site, people aren't going to stick around, they're not going to come back. So you have a lot of engagement around the today's rates, which we'll show you some examples of that with the rate comparison table. Optimum First, another great lender that's doing a ton of leads every month. These receipt emails that go out. So when a user completes that questionnaire to get their quote, an email automatically goes out, a receipt, and 70% of those people that complete that form open up the email, which tells you super high engagement. They're engaged with rates, they're engaged with getting rates in their inbox. So it's another indication of why you want to have rates in your website. And also those same stats here with JVM as well. And then overall trends for 2023, I think the most important takeaway is everything's happening online. Shopping's online. The mortgage shopping experience should be no different than shopping for a pair of jeans, comparison shopping, looking at price and product. The highest quality leads come from your website. They don't come from third parties where you buy them. It's typically the people that are hitting your website are going to be your highest quality leads. And I think the big goal for 2023, it may not be, okay, we didn't do as many leads this year as last year, but did we increase the time on page? Are we engaging people more? The ones that do come, are they staying on the page longer than they did last year or before we had our old design, or when we had our old design versus the new one? So those would be the couple of trends that I would say for this year is to think about increased time on page. So let's hop through a couple of live sites and show you some examples of what we were talking about. So Vlad, can you see JVM site?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, so walk me through a couple things here that you feel like, maybe 2 or 3 pointers that you like about their site.
Yeah, so just as I mentioned earlier, the hero section, the messaging on the hero section is targeted to the consumers. It's basically their value proposition here, mortgages without a hassle. I want you to notice, and this is something you can basically steal, it's the friction removers. There are under the buttons. So, get your custom rate quote with no commitment, no documents required, no impact on your credit score. That puts people at ease with requesting for a custom rate quote, because they're traditionally thinking, am I going to fill in like a very long form, or is it safe to do this? Will I receive a ton of calls? after I do that. So, just think about how the e-commerce stores, or better yet, like digital products, have that friction remover where you can start a subscription without any credit card needed. So the same principle applies here too.
And then as we go through, this is an example when I always look at this website, I'm like, because you're always improving it too. Modern icons, modern tools, modern look and feel. It's going to look great in mobile. I think you guys do an awesome job with keeping the websites current as well, with some really cool animations that you've added into the page itself. So calls to action, talk about that with the header. Think about when you were talking about earlier, you've got minimum here. So it's a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the navigation menu is very simple. Buy, refinance, rates, because that's probably over 50% of people are looking for that. And then in their particular case, they also have partnerships with agents, but they also dedicate a navigation item to the tools, where they list all the other tools that could help you. And most importantly, as you scroll down the page, this navigation menu follows you. So you don't lose people. You give them an easy way to go to other pages, or if they're ready to apply now or ask for a quote.
Yeah,
I would also like to point out the graphics, which are used here in these sections, because they're relevant to the messaging you see. So here with rates dropping, and you can go in straight up. Yeah.
Subscribe to rates. I always use JVM lending as the standard. If you are out there and you're a small to mid-sized mortgage company, bank, credit union, and you are looking for a website where you can inspire others, if you're the champion and you need to inspire others, send them to JVM, let them take a look at what's possible in a mortgage website for a small team. It's not $1 billion company, and Webcherry and Vlad and his team have done an awesome job. So let's see if we have any questions, Vlad. We'll spend a minute here and see if there's any specific questions that come through.
Okay, so somebody asked, how are they getting people to the website so that they can use the pricing tools? There are a lot of options here. So if you don't have traffic on your website, the next logical thing you can do is either set up an ad campaign to bring that traffic, or you can pursue a more long-term growth strategy for search engine optimization. It really depends on your budget and how quickly you want to capture that traffic. I would say that ads are more costly, but give you instant results, while SEO takes some time to kick in, like 9 to 12 months until you see a return on investment from that side. But overall, it's up to you on how you want to drive traffic to the website.
Can you give one common example for SEO? Because I think, just to clarify, what is an example of something like JVM might be, or another customer that might be using? They're writing articles on a topic. Can you provide an example?
Yeah. So, for example, JVM has a blog post talking about the jumbo loan limits for California, which is doing a really great job for them. It brings about 600 to 700 clicks per month. So you don't have to be very broad with your with your articles, you have to really focus on a specific query that people are searching on Google.
What is your cadence on SEO articles? You know, a couple of months, once a week, as many as you can. What's just generally are you looking for articles to come out?
As many as possible. I would say that's the ideal scenario. But you also want to make sure that you don't write for search terms that are already oversaturated, or that the big established companies are ranking for already. You need to find those longer tail keywords that could really give you advantage and put you in the first results, because for the smaller ones, like let's say FHA loan, California, you have very slim chances to rank, especially if your domain is newer and you don't have a lot of reputation.
So really specific keywords that you're writing articles on it is key. So I think that's a good takeaway. Anything else? Any other questions in there?
Somebody asked you, Jimmy, can you display multiple pricing options per program?
Well, if I understand the question correctly, yes. So you can display different price points for specific products. So 30-year fixed, it could be 2 points, 1 point, point and a half a point. All of that is you're able to show. So I'll show an example here on there for JVM compare rates. They have the rate comparison table here that will populate, and then you have featured, which are closest to par. But then if you drill down into specific products, then you have your points there. So that's kind of how we show different price points.
And Joe also asked a question, what is the backend with all the lead capture? When it's finished, the build on some tool, when it's, Joe, I'm not sure I understand your question. When it's finished, the build on some tool like Sanity or something.
I think maybe what it is okay, what happens when the lead is captured? If you use if you're using Banking Bridge tools inside of your website, we handle all of the lead routing to your CRM or wherever you want those leads to go. So Vlad and his team, I'm sure, can do some of that. But one of the values that our tools provide in a custom website is we handle all the routing. So then Vlad and his team can focus more on design, what is it, the overall message and feel, and then we handle all of the back end routing.
Theodore asks, what tools do you use for monitoring your websites? So yeah, that's a good question. We use the classical Google Analytics just to give us the metrics. But today you can also use another tool, which is called Clarity by Microsoft. It's a free tool. You can plug it in your website, and it gives you a lot more information than just analytics. It shows you recordings of actual people interacting with your website. It gives you heat maps, so you can see, for example, how long, how much they scroll on a page, what are the most interesting sections to them, where are they spending most of their time on the page or on the website in general, what buttons, links, or other interacting elements are people mostly engaging with. So yeah, that's a really cool tool, and I recommend it for everyone to use it. It's also free.
Anything else?
There's one more question. Are the websites WordPress? Is it a proprietary CMS? Yeah, the question is, the answer is WordPress. We use WordPress through all our websites. We believe WordPress is the best platform because you can scale your website from just a small brochure website to a corporate website. Plus, it allows you to easily make changes on your website without any technical expertise. So you won't need us every time you need to change some text or update a photo on your website. So that's also one reason. Plus, I would say the ecosystem and the integrations with WordPress, basically any tool on the internet can integrate with WordPress. So yeah, that's another plus.
If you are interested in learning more about custom websites, you can reach out to Vlad directly, Vlad at webcherry.co, or go webcherry.co online. Check them out. You can request a demo, learn more about what they have going on. I definitely recommend, if you're at that stage where you're willing to go from a template to a custom design, 2 thumbs up for Vlad and his team for getting you what you need. So anything, Vlad, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, well, as Jimmy said, if you want to check us out, please go to our website, take a look and see the type of websites we're doing. We try to not be, our work is kind of a exemplary, bespoke. We don't try to do basic websites, and I think yeah, if you have any more questions after this webinar, feel free to reach out.
Great. Well, we will catch up with you on the next webinar next month. Thanks for joining, and you'll get a copy of this recording here in about 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you all.